Hey, what's going on? The biggest story here is that guest players are no longer treated like passengers with very limited control. They can now handle a much wider set of actions in shared progression sessions, including upgrading gear like the Sanguinarix, the Umbral Lamp, and weapons, socketing upgrade materials, managing equipment, talking to vendors, using Chrysalis Rebirth, resting at vestiges, traveling between locations, planting vestige seeds, starting boss encounters, and even skipping cinematic scenes. That is a huge shift in tone for co-op, because instead of constantly waiting on the host to move everything along, the guest side of the session now feels much more active and much more useful. What makes this update even more interesting is that the host now gets to decide how open the session should be. There are two permission styles here: limited and full. Limited still gives guests the core survival tools so they can use Chrysalis Rebirth, rest at vestiges, socket upgrade materials, upgrade equipment, and interact with vendors. Full privileges go farther and let guests fast travel between vestiges, plant seeds, start boss fights, and skip cutscenes, which means the host can set the pace depending on the kind of run they want. That is a pretty smart addition, because it keeps co-op flexible without forcing every group into the exact same structure. Matchmaking also got cleaner, with the connection flow being streamlined for smoother sessions, password matchmaking still available for direct friend connections, and open matchmaking working simply by leaving the password field blank. In practical terms, that means it should be easier to get into a session without spending forever wrestling with setup. The patch is not only about freedom, though. It also spends real attention on fixing the kinds of bugs that can ruin a multiplayer run. One of the big fixes is for clients who could not socket Umbral Eyes into the Umbral Lamp during co-op, which is exactly the sort of problem that can break momentum at the worst possible moment. Another fix addresses the odd issue where character levels could multiply after using Rebirth Chrysalis in co-op, which sounds wild, but also like the kind of bug you definitely do not want hanging around in a live game. The update also fixes rune socketing into weapons during multiplayer sessions and cleans up DualSense compatibility problems on the Steam version. On top of that, there are performance improvements for Steam Deck, so the patch is also trying to make the game feel steadier across different ways of playing. That matters a lot because co-op is only as good as the stability behind it, and this update is clearly trying to make the whole experience less messy and more dependable. There's also a bigger timing angle here that makes the patch feel even more important. Lords of the Fallen is joining PlayStation Plus monthly games for April, and it becomes available to PlayStation Plus members on April 7th, which means a fresh wave of players could be jumping in right as these co-op improvements land. That is a strong combination, because a game getting more visibility at the same time as its multiplayer systems are being made friendlier is exactly the kind of move that can help new players settle in faster and give returning players a reason to give it another shot. So when you look at the whole update, the message is pretty clear. This is not just a maintenance patch. It is a co-op refresh built to make sessions smoother, permissions more flexible, and the overall experience much more welcoming when playing with a friend.